Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here today. I am Mikkel Hermann Sørensen. I'm from Christensen. I'm co-architect in Copenhagen, and we are a company established in 2006. We have around 500,000 built square meters to our name and 500 plus projects, but we are a fairly small office consisting of these 40 curious and dedicated architects and building technologists. Here we are on a study trip in Portugal. We do a study trip every year, looking at other architects' work and get inspired. This is our office here. We have the two top floors in this building, and the area in Copenhagen where we have our office is called Nørrebro, and it's a very sort of lively and diverse part of the city, vibrant. And I like to think that somehow reflects in our projects that we are part of this community here. Actually, when they were doing this graffiti on the pharma graffiti you see there, we were actually doing some pharmaceutical buildings in the office. I don't think there was any relations, but nevertheless, it was quite funny. We do a very diverse type of scale of projects. We have everything from specialized furniture for educational buildings until small cultural houses, school buildings, and also quite large life science and research buildings. But everything we try to put into an umbrella that we call learning culture, which spans quite broad. But there's an identity to this, which is, of course, institutional buildings, daycares, schools, college, so on, but into university and research, but also even sports facilities and student housing. The company was actually founded originally as a sort of an idea to push the boundaries of sustainability within the built environment, and we have in our name quite a few forefront projects. Among the first DGNB certified building in Denmark, we have a carbon negative buildings and plus buildings. And also the project that we have on display today is also a sort of a new stepping stone for us in terms of sustainability. We even have made a climate policy within the company. This is, of course, the sustainability as a theme is quite sort of quite a broad definition, and we felt that it was time to figure out what we wanted to do with sustainability in our project. So we tried to dogmatically look into what actually made sense to our projects. The climate policy is also about how we operate the office. So we try to maybe not take so many trips to Milan with plane and so on, but and try to operate the office sustainable. We have a lot of collaboration with the end users in our buildings, and it's a very big part of our projects is to work with passionate people, nerds, and people that just have something that they really want the building to do. Here we have the theater director of a small theater in the middle. We have the old boys football team and the researchers, and we take pride in collaborating with the end users because it gives so much value to the projects. It's often also very complicated and annoying sometimes, but it gives a lot of value to the project. And at the end of the day, when we have the project, to see the people that are using it and that they can see that that's actually their project means a lot to us. So we take a lot of pride in doing this kind of work. All our projects are circulating around the word relations, relationship between the buildings and the space, the urban space. The relationship between inside and outside, and also, of course, the relationship between the spaces within the programs that we do, educational programs. We work a lot with the synergy within, and that you can see the activities that are going on and get inspired and affected by that, and trying to maybe do whatever you want within that for yourself. We have a quite analytic approach to projects. I'm going to come back to this diagram, but we try to zoom out a lot before we actually start to design things and look at what is actually going on, both cultural with the resources and functionality. And the project today that is on display here is a public school in Copenhagen. And the reason why we want to bring it here, it's been cancelled. So it's unfortunate to be here with that project, but I think what we want to show here is that because this project has a lot of value to us, it was a project that was in our neighborhood, so it was actually going to be very close to our office, which means a lot. Then it was pivotal for us because it also has some values in sustainability in terms of having to demolish some buildings and having to figure out how to reuse the materials and the resources at hand into creating this building. And then, of course, it's a school building, which is sort of the core of our activities in the office. The site that you see here is called the Old City, or the City for the Old, in Danish, the Gamles By, which is not the old city in terms of the building, but because it was a city for the elderly. It was originally a hospital from 1892. Has some really beautiful, nice hospital buildings, and then it later was converted into a home for the elderly, and is still today some of the buildings, but also now other institutions moved in, and it's been this park-like oasis for the very dense neighborhood around it. So there's a lot of feelings connected to this project here, or this area here. So the thicker line here is the actual side of the project. I can show you here. This is some of the buildings that are on the side. There's a chapel, as you see here. There's the old hospital building, and the buildings that you see here is the ones that we had to demolish in order to make space for the school. They're staying there now. So, and just to give you an example of what's going on the side and what the feelings are, this is actually a Facebook page called Defend the Old City, or the Old City, which is this post particularly here is where they're cheering because they cancelled the school building. So this is kind of what we're up against, and I have lived in the area for many years, so I understand that, but sometimes also you have to make space for new things happening. Back to this diagram here is that on this one, obviously we had to look into what cultural, historical aspects there was in this case on the site, but also culturally on what's happening now at the site. We looked into the resources on site, and the demolishing of the buildings. How could we reuse, and how could we how could we use the resources at hand? And then, of course, also functionality. Looked into how to make this school building within the structure that we wanted to do. Just one note on that is that it's a school for the old kids in primary school, which means from 6th to 10th grade. And that's a little different in Denmark. That's not so often you actually build a building directly for those for that age group. Normally you build for the whole spectrum, so it was special in that sense as well. Conceptually, the idea was to say that you have the 3 buildings today on top here, and what we said, how could we add some quality to while maintaining some of the structural ideas from the existing buildings. So we had this idea to push the buildings together, creating openness towards the neighborhood, so that the park would be more inviting for people, and then on the same hand creating a school where you had this like a unified area within that would make sense for a school building. And this is how it turned out in the visualizations, and you see these buildings put together, but have a resemblance to the original buildings there. And I think we can look at some of the diagrams here, not going through all of them, but one thing to notice is that we did use the structure on the side in like the build structure of the city there with these long buildings that are put together. Then we had using the building to create a sort of an urban and a green side, and then of course also taking up the scale and the materiality from the existing side. And this is the landscape plan. I had to tilt it so it fit with the slideshow, but you can see these 5 buildings put together that are the school, and then there was also a sports hall at the end of it here. So the way that we looked into this in terms of expression and materiality, we of course had to look into the contextuality of the site, as I already explained. And then we also wanted the school to express that it was a school, so we wanted to be playful in a sense, and then we also wanted to express that it was a sustainable building. And then lastly, we wanted to work with performance of the facade, energy-wise, daylight-wise, and indoor climate-wise. So in terms of location, we already knew that the whole area was very sort of red brick heavy. But we then started to dissect into details on the side and found all really nice small kinds of details on the existing housing around, both from dating back to the 1890s, but also from the 70s and even quite modern projects that all had this interpretation of what's going on there, trying to take some of these details into the project. We had a lot of, with the engineers and working with the Technological Institute, we had a lot of mapping of the existing buildings, and we also had a lot of examinations on what we could use and what we could not use, doing LCA calculations also on what our aim would be on the project. Then we did, or we didn't, but the Technological Institute did these tests of all the material at hand, both the brickwork and the concrete, to see how much of it we could reuse. And then lastly, we looked into expression on the traditional schools around in the neighborhood here. We see these really beautiful red brick buildings that are actually quite close to the site, and always has this quite prominent position in the neighborhoods, these beautiful buildings. And we came up with this strategy is obviously we did the red brick as the perimeter of the building. We had a lot of yellow brick from the existing housing that we wanted to make into the staircase cores that would then provide a wayfinding method throughout the building. And then we had lightweight structures of wood and normal lightweight walls to be partition walls that would be easy to remove and be flexible about. And then we worked a lot with creating, sort of looking into proportions and structures of existing buildings to see if we could create a kind of a strategy on how to work with this facade. So we wanted to make a facade that was adaptable to the daylight needs we needed. So had different types of windows, of course, but then also because we didn't have exact amount of what material we had to reuse, we had to make a strategy to see if we could actually make a game with it somehow. So we made this grid structure that could then hold different types of reused materials. So both from the existing houses, but also maybe from other buildings that were or other resources around. We could get this game going with different types of materials within this grid facade. And that would be a nice example on how to actually look that the building could express what it's actually doing, but also at the same time being playful, showing that it's a school building and it's for kids. If we go inside, just quickly here, we have the entrance level where you have the view to the sports area, you have the view through the building, and also a view up into the building. We have there's a library within the building where you have access to an outside patio. And we have the sports hall here with views into the cantina and vice versa. The opposite on the ground where you have the from the cantina into the sports hall. So all the time having these cross views through the buildings. Going on top, like on the top floor here, you see also a classroom where you see the yellow brick cores, and also in behind here you can notice that there is this view through the building, so you can always orientate yourself down or up into the building and get daylight into the center of the building. So this is a view from the park side of the building where you can see the patio and into the cantina and how it manifests itself here. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Go to our website and have a look if something else is interesting. This is not going to get built, so look into some other stuff. Thank you.